Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Em and today we're here to do my July wrap up. So I had a pretty good reading month in July. I read 22 books and 14 of those books were from my own shelves, which is great. That's just where I like it. Summerween was also in July, which I absolutely love. If you're not familiar, it's a week-long readathon where we're just reading spooky fall type books, but in the summer, and it was created and hosted by Gabby Reads, and it's always a lot of fun. If you haven't done it before, I highly recommend trying it out next year. I believe she also does a winter session, but I don't think the winter session is as big as the summer one is. And my average rating in July was a 4.31, which is pretty good. I'm really happy with that. I basically have a book for every rating between 3 and 5 stars. And even with the quarter stars, I think I hit every single one except for a 4.75. I probably did have a 4.75 this month, but at 4.75, I'm like, what's the point? Why not just make it a 5? If I'm that close, I might as well round it up, which is what I tend to do. So anyways, we're just going to jump right in. As always, we're going to start off with the books that I DNF'd. I DNF'd 2 books in July, and unfortunately, the 2 books I DNF'd were also 2 of the books that I drew for my TBR jar. I DNF'd For Her Consideration by Amy Spalding, which is a contemporary rom-com, and I did not get far into this. I think it was only 9, maybe 10%, but I just found the main character to be insufferable. Sad to say, this is first person present tense, which is also maybe my least favorite of the POV voices, and it's single POV, which I don't like in romance novels. I like a dual POV, and because I already was irritated by the main character not getting the love interest's point of view, it's a big no for me. So I could tell pretty early on that this wasn't going to be the right book for me, so I DNF'd it. And then I also DNF'd the Pomegranate Gate by Ariel Kaplan. Oh, it's made me really sad. I really thought I was going to love this fantasy book, but I think I wanted to love it. I think if I had actually been honest with myself before even bringing it home, I would have realized that it would not be a good fit for me. This is historical fantasy. It's set in the 14 or 1500s, that kind of, it's not really our world, but it's a world that's very closely mirroring our world that time. There's an Inquisition, and we're bouncing back and forth between the real world and then this fantasy world, and the pace is just so slow. And I think I can read a slow-paced fantasy book, but not during the summer. I am not a slow down in the summer type of person. I am a everything speeds up in the summer type of person, and this is just not the time of year for me to read a slow-paced fantasy, sadly. Also, this book is comped to historical fantasy by Naomi Novik and Catherine Arden, and I have DNF'd historical fantasy by both of those authors as well. And so that's where I said if I had really been honest with myself, I would have realized that this was probably not going to be the book for me. And that is why if I had really honestly looked deep into who I am as a reader, I feel like it would have been more obvious. So now that we got the negative ones out of the way, we're going to dive in. We're going to start with the books that I don't have physical copies of because I will forget if I don't do them first. We're going to start off with the first book I read this month, and also the only nonfiction I read this month, and that was Lady Killers by Tori Telfer. This is a book about various female serial killers throughout history. I listened to this one on audio, and it was interesting and fascinating. It listened like a podcast, which is my favorite type of nonfiction audiobook to read. And Tori Telfer just goes throughout history and highlights various female serial killers, and she talks about their lives and what their upbringing was like, what their environment was like. She does such a great job of really painting a picture for you on what these women's lives were like, and I really loved that and appreciated that. It was so well done, and I just really liked it. I thought it was a great time. And then the next one that we're going to talk about is Someone You Could Build a Nest In by John Wiswell. And this is cozy queer fantasy. I think it's technically cozy queer horror, but there's, it's also kind of a fantasy. Anyways, this was unfortunately not a miss, but not, I felt like it didn't have the emotional impact that I didn't have the emotional impact that I felt like I saw a lot of other readers have while reading this book. But in this one, you're following a monster she lives in this cave, and she's kind of like this amorphous blob, but she can eat things to give her body shape, and she can disguise herself as a human this way. And she is being hunted by the people from the nearby kingdom, and ends up meeting the daughter of the noble family, and the daughter mistakes her for a human, and they end up falling in love, and it's really cozy, but there is also a lot of violence and there's gore because, it is still horror. And I did like it, but I didn't love it. The pace, again, was a little slow, and I felt like it kind of got lost in itself towards the end. I feel like if it had been a little bit shorter, a little bit tighter, I would have liked it more, and it might have been more impactful. But I think even though it's not a long book, I do think it dragged a little bit for me at like the 3/4 mark. I also think from reading this book, I don't think cozy horror is for me. It sounds like something I would like. It has like all these buzzwords that I think should work for me, but I just I think I like a little bit more of a gut punch in the horror that I read, which is, good thing to learn. We're also going to talk about Volume 1 and Volume 2 of Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. This is a web comic, a comic, and it's like Animal Crossing meets Dexter. It's set in this cute little town that's inhabited by animals. The animals walk on 2 feet, they talk, they wear human clothes, and our main character, Sam, is a bear. She owns a hardware store, and Sam is a serial killer, and every once in a while, she starts to get the itch, and so she goes into a big city where her victims can be anonymous, and then she goes back. Except this time, somebody in her town starts to kill citizens, and Sam is worried that if she doesn't solve who it is herself, the police are going to find out about her evil deeds in their investigation. I don't know. This one, I don't take in horror in a visual medium, hardly ever. Even though this one is kind of cozy and the illustrations are sweet, seeing gore in a visual medium it's always it's unsettling for me, and I mean I'm not looking to change that at all. There's construction outside. Hopefully the microphone isn't picking it up, but if you hear anything, I think there's road work being done. Anyways, yeah, I gave both of these 4 stars because I think the setup is well done. It's a really tight story. Like, you're not wasting a lot of time or words or pictures on stuff that doesn't matter. And I think there are people that this would really appeal to. All right, we're gonna have to pause until this is over. Okay, take 2. I can't remember where I ended on Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, but I think I got out all my thoughts. So then the next one we're gonna talk about is an arc I read. It's called The Village Library Demon Hunting Society. This is by C.M. Wagner. This comes out in October or November. I can't remember. I'll put the date down somewhere. But this is an author whose other 2 books I really loved, and I was really excited for this one. And this started off so promising. It's about Shelley, who is the town librarian for this little town in upstate New York. And I really like the beginning. Sherry is older. I think she's 63. And this town just had such a character to it. And the setup is that Sherry is like this amateur detective that the sheriff really leans on to help him solve murder cases. And at the beginning of the book, someone else has just been murdered, and Sherry is once again recruited to help solve the case. And then weird things start to happen. And Shelley, have I been saying Sherry or Shelley? Shelley starts to like get inklings that things aren't really how they're supposed to be. Like things that are happening in this town aren't normal. And then we go from there. And like I said, I love the setup. I thought the beginning was so strong. But then I think this book is just a little too long and loses itself a little bit in the plot. So, and it's not like it's not bad. Generally I had a good time. I thought it was interesting. It just lost its plot a little bit and it got a little long. It dragged again in that like 3/4 section. It dragged a little bit for me. I think I ended up giving it maybe a 3 or 3.25. It just wasn't my favorite, to the point where I'm sad to say I did cancel my pre-order because I don't need this on my shelf. I'm not going to reread it. It was definitely my least favorite of her books so far, which is a big bummer, but also just how it goes sometimes. And then the last book we're going to talk about that I don't have a physical copy of is The Marrow Thieves by Sherry Dimaline. I'll be honest, I've pretty much forgotten everything this book is about. Like, I've forgotten the plot. I've forgotten all the character names. I kind of remember a couple of scenes, but it basically has totally left my brain. I remember being very meh about my time reading it, so which is too bad, but I have read other Sherry Dimaline books that I have loved a lot more. This one largely felt very forgettable for me, which is weird because this one has gotten so many awards and has been recognized for so many things, but I just could not get into it the way I could get into her other books. And it may be the main character in this one is a teenage boy, and he has very teenage boy thoughts and does very teenage boy things, and that may be the reason that I couldn't get into it, because I'm gonna be honest, I don't read a lot of books with young teenage boy protagonists. I don't really read a whole lot of books with male main protagonists, so it's not like a lens of looking at the world that I put myself in a whole lot. So maybe that's it. Maybe it's also post-apocalyptic. No, post-apocalyptic, dystopian. It's one of those. I think it's dystopian, and I don't really like dystopian either. So it's, yeah. Anyways, it was a thing that I read in the month of July. All right, now we're gonna get into the physical books, and I guess we're just gonna go. Are we gonna go in order? Oh no, we're not. We're gonna start with trying to record when my family is home today, and I feel like it shows. Let's start off with talking about the manga that I read this month. I made progress in both Hat Atelier. I read volume 9, and I really like this. This is probably one of my favorite volumes of the whole series. In this one, our main characters, they go to like this magic festival, and we get a little bit more into like some darker themes. And I noticed that I really love this series the most when it leans into the darker themes, because generally it is very cozy and very sweet, and I don't want to say wholesome, but it's got that kind of feel to it. As we follow our main character Coco and then the 3 other girls that she is apprenticing to be a witch with, and then the 2 witches that are the girls' teachers. And I find that found family aspect so wonderful, but I also really like when the series gets a little bit darker. I like the themes that the author takes on, and this was definitely a favorite so far. And then I also made progress in Dinosaur Sanctuary, volume 4. And this one, look, I started off liking this one so much. I really love Susumi, our main character. She's so sweet, she's so earnest, she's so enthusiastic, and cares so much about the dinosaurs. In this series, the setup is that in the 1940s, some dinosaurs were found on a remote island, and through genetic DNA, Jurassic Park science, they were able to then create a bunch of other extinct dinosaurs, and so now there are these dino zoos all over the world, and we're following Tasumi, who is just starting her dino keeper career at this dino land that is kind of down on its luck, and they're not doing very well. They're struggling financially, and they're trying to save the dino park and bring attention to the dinosaurs that are in their care. And it's really a really sweet story, and I love that character. But look, there is a character in here who is so mean to Tasumi, and I hate him so much because he is so mean to her for no reason, and he was a big old jerk right at the end of this book, and because of that, it's my least favorite volume because he was so mean, and I don't like him, and I just want to punch him in his stupid mean face every time he says something that hurts her feelings. He is the worst, and I really hope this author does not have a redemption arc planned for him, because no, he has hurt her feelings too many times and don't want him redeemed. He's horrible. I just want him to go away. It's probably not going to happen, but I don't like him. Least favorite, just because of that. But I like the rest of it. I just hate that. I hate him. I hate him so much. All right, moving on. I listened to The Brides of High Hill by Nevo. This is the most recent installment in the Singing Hill Cycle series. This is a novella series where we are following Cleric Chi, who is a story collector and travels around their countryside collecting stories and also telling stories to the people that they meet. And this one was really interesting because Nevo really leaned into some horror elements in this one. And at first I didn't like it because it was a different vibe, it was a different tone than I was used to. Cleric Chi was doing some stuff that I thought was really weird and didn't understand why they were making the decisions they were making. And then the second half, and it all made sense. And it was so creepy, and I really liked it. I liked the horror aspects so much. So yeah, it's a weird one because I didn't like it because it was different, but then I did really like it because it was different. So I had kind of a mixed emotions, but I ended up giving this a 4.25 just because I did like the reveal and I liked the ending so much. And I think this is a really lovely novella series. I mean, they're so short, so there's not a whole lot I could tell you before we get into spoiler territory. But I think if you love the Singing Hill Cycle, just expect that this one is going to be different. Nevo is trying out some different things with this one, and largely I thought it was successful and they really worked. I would love to go back and reread this because I feel like my rating will go up if I ever do, because now I'm in on it. Like I know what's going on, so I feel like I won't struggle with the beginning as much as I did the first time through. Let's continue to just talk about the series that I made progress on, because I read quite a few series this month. I read Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. This is the sequel to One Dark Window. I finally finished this duology, thank goodness, and this was a 5-star. Did I give this 5 stars? I think I gave this 5 stars, or it was a 4.5. No, it's 5. It was 5. I loved this. This was so good. I gave One Dark Window a 4, and I thought this was even better. I loved the plot. I loved the different points of view. We get more people than just Elspeth in this one, and I really liked it. I really liked the romance that was in this one because we focused on 2 different characters, and they were the best. I loved them so much. I loved it. Loved it. So One Dark Window, the setup is we have our main character Elspeth, and when Elspeth was a child, she got ill with this virus that exists, and after this virus, the people who come down with it are left with magical powers, but the king in this world does not want anybody to have powers outside of, himself. And so the edict is that anybody who comes down with this illness who shows magic afterwards is killed. And Elspeth's aunt and her father hide that she did have magical powers after being sick, and so she has grown up with the ability to find these providence cards, which are basically like tarot cards. This is a tarot-based magic system. And Elizabeth also has this entity called the Nightmare who lives in her head as well. And the Nightmare is from the Nightmare card, which is one of the Providence cards. And so in the first one, you're in Elspeth's perspective with the Nightmare who lives in her head as well. And then in this one, just is so good. This one is also action-packed from beginning to end. Like, the pace is really tight. It never stops moving forward. and I thought this one was great. If you like gothic fantasy, not fantasy romance, but if you like gothic fantasy with a strong romantic side plot, yeah, I would definitely recommend this. And I think, like, One Dark Window was Rachel Gillig's debut, and then this is her second book. Like, ugh, I cannot wait to see what she does with her third book, which will be different because this is just a duology, so this series is complete. So I cannot wait to see what she does next. I also read volume 6 of Lore Olympus. Do I remember what I thought about this one? I liked it. I don't remember what my rating was though. But this is this whole series is it was a webtoon originally. Now it's being traditionally published, and it's a Hades and Persephone retelling. And I really liked this one. You know, this definitely deals with heavier content. Like, while the art is absolutely stunning and I really love it, I'm trying to find a page that's not spoilery. I just love the art that Rachel Smythe does. It's so pretty. I love the color scheme. I think I've said before when I talked about this series, I love the volumes that really dig in more into Hades and Persephone's relationship. I think those moments are really sweet and very heartfelt, and those are usually my favorite volumes. So I do like that we made some progress in their emotional intimacy with each other, and then we also had some stuff moving forward with other plot pieces in this. So I believe there's one more volume that's coming out later this year, and then I heard that after volume 7 this series is done. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I heard. It'll be very sad when the series is over because I have really loved getting to read the story. I also read Leather and Lark by Brynne Weaver. This is book 2 in the Ruinous love trilogy. Book 1 is Butcher and Blackbird. In this one, we're following Lark, who is the best friend of the heroine from book 1, and Lachlan, who is the brother of the hero from book 1. So the series is following 3 Irish brothers who are also, well, the first one was a serial killer, Lachlan's a contract killer, and Lark is a serial killer. I didn't love this one as much as I loved Butcher and Blackbird. I really, really loved Butcher and Blackbird. I saw like the very legitimate critiques that people have for Butcher and Blackbird. I saw that a little bit more in this book, but I still had a really fun time. I think this is really easy to read. It's very consumable. I think it's just fun. I don't think Brynne Weaver takes herself too seriously and doesn't take her writing too seriously, and I feel like you can tell that in this, and that's so refreshing, especially as someone who tends to read a lot of like fantasy that's a little bit on the heavier side. I've been trying to find more lighthearted, doesn't take itself seriously books this summer, and I feel like I've been doing a pretty okay job, but this slots into that just fine. This is a marriage of convenience, fake relationship kind of situation, and I just thought it was a good time. I also read book 4 in the Sinister Summer series. This is Menacing Manor by Kirsten White. This is a middle grade series. It's kind of got, oh no, what's it called? Lemony Snicket series of unfortunate events. It's, right? Maybe. I would say less grim and a little bit more hopeful, but we're following these 3 siblings who are trying to solve the mystery of what happened to their parents. And at this one, they go to, what's it called? Oh, it's okay. Well, they go to a science camp, but it's at a bed and breakfast. And the name for the bed and breakfast, it was so fun. It's not in the synopsis. Let me see if I can remember what it's called. Okay, it's the Frank and Stein bed and breakfast. So, all things Frankenstein. And this was so fun, and I liked it a lot, and I'm really excited to read the next one because this ended on a massive cliffhanger, which Kirsten White is really good at with these books. All right, and the last series that we're going to talk about is I have started to reread the Lady Sherlock series by Sherry Thomas. This is a cozy historical mystery series that has a gender-swapped Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, and it's one of my favorite books. It's one of my favorite comfort reads, and I read book 3, The Hollow of Fear, which to date is my favorite. I love this one so much. And book 4, which is The Art of Theft. In The Hollow of Fear, Ash Ingram, who is one of Charlotte's oldest and dearest friends, is accused of murdering his wife, and Charlotte embarks to prove that he did not do it. I love this one so much. Ash and Charlotte have such a great tension and pining, and if you're looking for a slow burn romance with characters who have very real reasons for why they cannot be together, like this series nails it every time. And then in The Art of Theft, a long lost friend of Mrs. Watson's comes and asks the gang to steal back something for her that is being used to blackmail her. And this one is excellent too. This is the first let's get the gang all together to do a thing book. And the other three, all the characters are there, but they're all kind of scattered. And in this one, they're all brought together. And this one also has a heist component, and it's so fun. And I just love this series so much. And I'm about to start my reread for book 5, so I'm just loving my life. All right, let's see if we can wrap this up. Yeah, let's talk about the horror books that I read that I haven't talked about yet. So I read Fantastic Land by Mike Bakoven. I read this for Summerween. This is a survival horror set at an amusement park in Florida that has been hit by a hurricane, and the employees have been trapped, and they go Lord of the Flies on each other. And it's told in interview style. I thought it was very easy to read. I read it in like a day, but I did not like it. I don't like books where people are violent for no reason other than to just be violent. Like there's no motivation, there's no reasoning. And I hate that take on the human nature. It feels so pessimistic and so, why do we even bother if this is our base nature? And it's not my vibe. And I should know not to read books that are compared to Lord of the Flies, but to be fair, it's been a long time since I read Lord of the Flies, and I thought maybe my opinion might have changed, but it has not. So I will definitely be unhauling this because it just is not. It's not the type of horror I want to read. On the more successful end of the spectrum, I read Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. I gave this 5 stars. This is Chuck Tingle's newest book that comes out. Oh, it just came out in July. And it's set in Hollywood, and it was so fun. Audiobook is really entertaining, though there are some sound effects that in the audiobook that I was not a fan of, and I definitely had to pause. I think if you read Camp Damascus, you will also really like this one. Or if you liked Camp Damascus, you will also really like this one, though I think this one is grosser than Camp Damascus. There's a lot more body horror in this, though less bug stuff. So do with that what you will. But this one, I really loved the themes about AI in Hollywood and ethics and being an artist and creating in a capitalistic world. And I liked it. I liked it so much. Again, I read it in like a day. It was so easy to consume. And then I didn't read this for Summerween. This was one of my last books of the month. I read Mr. Magic by Kirsten White. So I read one of her adult horrors. And this is about a children's TV show that was on in the 90s that has some mysterious circumstances about it. And we're following Val, who was a child actor on this show, but has no memory of being on the show. And I don't know. Yes, I think this is technically horror. It reads more like a mystery to me. The horror elements don't come in until the very, very, very end. But I like Kirsten White's writing so much. And I really loved the themes in this one. There's stuff about parenthood and motherhood especially, and how we raise children. There's a lot of religious trauma in this one, so just like look out if that's a thing for you. But I'm finding that I really am drawn to horror that talks about religious trauma and confronts religious trauma. So I'm going to start to seek out more now that I know that that's a thing that I like. Okay, we have 4 books left. We're gonna see if we can do this before my battery dies, because it's probably gonna happen soon. Okay, we're gonna start with This Is My America first. This is contemporary young adult. This is by Kim Johnson, and this is about a girl named Tracy whose father is on death row for a crime that he did not commit, but he has been found guilty of. And then at the beginning, her brother is also suspected of committing a murder that he didn't do. And so this is very much about the justice system in America, about how police in America, especially with brown and black citizens. And it is, I would say that this is probably a book that is written for white people and not for black people. A lot of the stuff that Kim Johnson lays out in this is stuff that I don't think black kids need to hear as explicitly as she says in this book. I think this is stuff that black kids already know very, very well. So this felt like a Policing in America 101 for white kids, if that makes sense. I thought the writing was really good. I really liked Tracy. I liked the mystery. This book definitely didn't go how I thought it was going to go when I first started it, but I enjoyed it. Feels weird, but I enjoyed the journey. I think the mystery is well done. I think it is well paced. I think the characters are really well done. I just feel like she hits you over at the head with the messages and the ideas that she wants you to know, and it felt very targeted for a specific group of readers, is what I will say. But I gave this, I think, 4.25 stars, 4 stars. I really liked it. I thought the writing was really good, and and now I want to read more of her stuff because I know she has more books out than this one. Also, Bonnie Turpin does the audiobook, so that's always a good time. I read Teaking Fisher's next book. This is A Sorceress Comes to Call. It comes out in August, and this is a dark retelling of The Goose Girl, which is one of my favorite Grimm's fairy tales. I love it so much, and I really liked this. We have 2 characters in this one. We have Cordelia, who's a 14-year-old girl who has a very abusive mother, and then we have Hester, who is a 50-year-old disabled woman and Cordelia's mother has set her sights on marrying Hester's brother. And yeah, it was great. It is dark, you know, there's a lot of nefarious stuff going on, but it's got Teaking Fisher's, I think, trademark sense of humor, and oh, I forgot what the other word I wanted was. Anyways, it's classic Teaking Fisher voice. I really like this. I love when she leans into horror, and I'm so happy that I love this because her last 2 books have not worked very well for me. I've been kind of disappointed in them, so I'm just utterly delighted to have a book by her, a new book by her that I absolutely loved, and I thought this was really fun. And if you've read The Goose Girl, there's some really fun Easter eggs in this, but if you've never read The Goose Girl and you have no idea what that story is, don't worry about it. You don't need to know it. This is a book that stands on its own perfectly fine. I also read A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faisal, and this is a YA heist fantasy. We're following Arti and Jin, who are brother and sister, and they own a tea shop together. And during the daytime, it is just a regular run-of-the-mill tea shop, but at night it turns into a tea shop for vampires, which is very much illegal. And they embark on this heist to protect their tea shop, and there's other stuff that happens. There's some romances in here. There's a lot of action. It moves very quickly. There's a big old cliffhanger of an ending. I kind of wish I'd waited until book 2 was closer to release, but that's okay. I really liked it. I had a great time. I'm very excited to see what else happens in this series, and I thought these characters were just a delight. And I probably am going to go back and finish the We Hunt the Flame duology because I've only read book 1, but now I need more Hafsa Faisal, so I guess I'll go back and finish that duology while I wait for this book to come out. But the sense of place in this was so fun. I really love the setup. I love the world building. I loved her descriptions of people and the places, and it was such a romp, and I had a great time. And then we're going to end with a 5-star, and I did not anticipate giving this a 5-star when I picked it up. I checked out this book because Jan Agaton had talked about this author, and I'd never heard of them before, and I'd never read any of their books, and so I just grabbed their debut because that was pretty readily available. And it's Out of Love by Hazel Hayes, and this is not a romance novel, but a very romantic book. We're following an unnamed heroine and her boyfriend, and this is their relationship told in reverse. So at the beginning of the book, our main character is at her apartment and her boyfriend is coming to collect the last of his things post breakup. And then we move backwards through their relationship, ending just when they have met for the first time. And it is so well done. writing is beautiful. The characters' work is fantastic. I was like 40 pages in before I realized that our main character did not have a name, but I felt like I knew her so well and connected with her so much. And there's it talks about depression and anxiety. There is a content warning in here for miscarriage, just FYI. But it is all so well done. The writing is stunning, and I just think it's like more people need to be reading this author. I can't wait to read her second book that just came out, and it was so good. It was so good. Now, this is not a romance novel because there is not an HEA obviously in this book, but it is just like flawlessly executed. I'm such a fan, and I'm so glad that Jan was raving about Hazel Hayes so that I could find out about her and read her books for myself, because gah, she's so talented. All right, I think we beat my battery, so we're gonna end the video here in all of its chaotic glory so that I can turn the AC back on because it is hot today. If you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching and spending your precious time with me. I would love to hear what you read in July, if we read any of the same things, if you have any thoughts or feelings about the books I read, if you want to tell me about something that you read this last month, I would love to hear it. And if you want to leave an emoji to let me know you were here, let's do some sort of blue emoji, because I have a lot of blue covers in this stack. So something that's blue, and like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I will talk to you all in the next one. Bye!